Tim Kirby Russia hot takes, the words that started the war in the Ukraine. Now, when and how the war in the Ukraine started really depends on your political beliefs, right? So, if you're a very pro-Western person, then it seems very recently Putin and Russia as a whole went into the Ukraine to invade it and take it because they're bad or whatever, they just felt like it. Generally, people on the Western side of things don't really tend to be particularly interested by why other countries do things, so it's a mystery, they're bad. Now, if you look at things from the pro-Russian side of the line, essentially the war started already 8 years ago when the U.S. State Department accomplished their major goal of creating a color revolution in Ukraine that stuck this time, not like the Orange Revolution. And that led to what they call the Russian Spring, where a lot of Russians stood up and tried to rebel. Most were crushed, but not the Donbass republics. And since that point, over 8 years, they've been fighting for freedom from their perspective, or you could say from a Western perspective, they've been being used as some sort of Russian means of getting into Ukraine and screwing up their society, basically, ruining their revolution. So the origin of the war really depends on your political beliefs. But now I think that there's one other maybe moment when things could be different, that when the real war started. Now, one thing that's important to note is that we can't really blame the U.S. State Department too much for trying to push for revolution abroad, because on the one hand, America wants to be powerful. A lot of nations want to be powerful. It kind of makes sense, and I can also see how logically, if given the opportunity, they might want to woo away some of the former Soviet republics. I mean, we've even seen Armenia, Georgia, Kyrgyzstan for a while sort of shift over, the Baltics, they were all able to sort of shift their interest and desires to look more westwards, to look towards the West and democracy and all that stuff as being the good option. So can't really blame them for that. You want to do your best to make yourself look good and your competition look bad. But there was something that happened in the revolution, the Maidan Revolution, that really went over the line and went from being America trying to do good for itself to America unleashing horrible evil on the world. That moment was when the words moskaliaku na gilyaku were first uttered in the Ukraine. Now, what does that mean? Basically, it means it's like a sort of racial slur for Russians because, they're from Moscow and they need to be lynched or hung or something to that extent. Like they need to be sent to the gallows. So essentially, our American taxpayer dollars went to finance people who really believe, and their slogan for their revolution was, racial slur needs to be lynched, or racial slur needs to be sent to the gallows. There's also the wonderful option that says that the moskaliv need to be put na noji, which means they need to be put to the blade, as in have their throats slit. This is the moment where this wasn't the U.S. trying to back a revolution to sort of bring people to the West. This is a revolution of hate against Russians. And that's why it's very different. And I'm going to put the Russian version of that expression typed out in the description so you can copy it and paste it into Google, DuckDuckGo, Russian Yandex, and just see what kind of pictures and images come up when you use that expression. Because that expression was not really translated. You guys probably don't know it because it was written in Ukrainian Cyrillic on a bunch of signs during the whole Maidan thing, which happened a long time ago. But that is the underlying spirit of the Maidan Revolution. Not a revolution to make Ukraine great again. A revolution to kill Russians. So should we be that surprised that after 8 years of murder in the Donbass, the Russian forces went in to save all the Russian-speaking people of the Ukraine, especially after they made the Russian language illegal? Come on. So that was really probably the moment when the war started, when moskalyaku na gilyaku became an acceptable view on reality, because it's not. And none of you watching think that racial slur should be lynched is an acceptable slogan for any political movement in your country.